Greetings, everyone. I'm Carolyn Cole with the Eastern Shoveltown Cultural District, and I'm doing a segment of the Artists on Display that we are filming at ECAT, and I want to introduce you to a different type of an art form, stained glass, which has been highly prized and recognized since the Middle Ages. And today we have one of our artists, Linda Paolucci, here with us, and she's going to give us the pleasure of seeing her work in her home. And her first piece is a side light on her front door, which gives you an idea of the architectural impact of stained glass. Linda, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. First of all, it really is a hobby for me, something I've done in my free time. Now that I'm retired, I thought I would do more, but your time just gets filled up. But this was the first piece I ever did. Most people will do a sun catcher, but I have to be an overachiever, so I had to do something bigger. I basically learned from a friend and work in her husband's workshop with another friend of mine, and that's how I've learned. This particular piece I liked because it's a mission style, and it kind of goes with the particular architecture of the house. This also is what we call leaded glass. So there are pieces of lead in between that have a channel, and when you cut the pieces of glass, they go inside the channel, and then you solder each of the joints. This, because it's so long, and you would probably not see it unless I told you about it, but there are also lead reinforcing rods. If I had left this the way it was, between the weight of the glass and the weight of the cane, the lead cane, this would just sink. And I've seen them detach from the top and sort of swoop down because of the weight. So these reinforcements will actually keep it strong and keep it straight. This was a fun project of mine because we had some uplights here above the closet. And this is like my decorating stage. For any kind of holiday that comes, I like to decorate. But in between time, I needed to do something more decorative. So what I did is basically copied the style that I did on the side light, and I made uplights for above the closet. And it's basically the same type of glass, and I complemented the colors, added another couple colors to it. And this was very interesting because I had no idea how I was going to form this, because the cane comes in strips, flat on each side, and with the opening inside to stick the glass in. These, I actually found corner cane. It's a 90-degree angle, and I could get the glass in on both sides and therefore box it in, and that became my lights for the top of the closet.
This beautiful mirror is in your sunroom.
Yes, it is. I like it because it's very bright in here. It's very reflective, and you basically see the whole room as you look into the mirror and look around. This is also very similar to the other two pieces that are done with lead. It probably wasn't the best idea to do it that way, but I really like the mission style in my home, so I decided to do the mirror that way. These little pieces, I can't tell you how many times I put them together with little pieces of cut glass that I put in between, and then they would fall as I'm constructing it. So very many times I had to put it back together again because it was very, very hard to manipulate. I did have it framed, and interesting, because this is a sunroom, the first frame that I had, I actually liked much better than this one, but because of the heat in here and the differences in temperature, that frame just warped. So I decided to go with a metal frame on this one, and I like it. Yeah. I think the frame really complements the lead, which is a silver color. Some lead you may see that looks black, and it's because they actually put a patina on it. I tend not to do much with patina because I like that natural look. So that's how that looks with the silver.
Now this piece is in your kitchen, and there's a wonderful view behind here, which most of the viewers won't be able to see, but and this is a hanging piece. It's quite interesting.
Yes, in this particular house, we have so many windows, and I really don't like to cover up the windows because I like looking out at what's outside and some of the architecture of the house that you can still see when you look outside. This gave me, actually I got the idea from Christmas decorations. I would just hang a garland over here, and I hated when I took the garland down because it looked so blah. So I said, well, you know, I really need to make a valance. So once again, when I made the valance, I made the border to look like my other lead pieces in the mission style, but I wanted something different. So then I decided to do the vines and the leaves, and I thought it would go well with the outdoors. And I continued on here with some metal work. I really like to do things with metal, and that just added another dimension to it. Mm. And there are also, in this one, there are bevels. And bevels are these cut pieces. And if this were a nice, bright, sunny day, you would see rainbows on my floor, because that's what happens to the light when it comes through the prisms. They look absolutely beautiful.
What the viewer may not be able to see this metal up closely, but it actually looks like tendrils of the extension of a vine, which would happen naturally in nature, and the vine would just keep on growing as it attached to things. And I think that's what makes it very interesting looking.
Yes. I don't like things that are very symmetrical and cut, so I like odd angles. And that particular wire, when we use it with stained glass, it's a tinned copper wire, so it will take the solder.
Now, Linda, this window piece is a little different than your typical design. You've gone off the mission.
Yes, it's very different. I actually was given a magazine, and I saw something similar to this in the magazine and decided to try and copy it. And what it is, basically a piece of iridescent ripple glass. And these cuts, you are really not able to do those by hand. The glass breaks a certain way, and you can't just make it stop in the middle of the glass. So my husband got me for Christmas a ring saw. And this saw allows me to cut into the glass in any kind of shape that I want without ruining the integrity of the glass and letting the cut go somewhere I don't want it to go. So what I did is I cut out a design that went with the rippling effect. And then I just took all sorts of prisms, gold jewels, rocks, shells, whatever I can find, and just try to make an artistic expression. And then I did the same thing with the hangers. You can actually hang this either way, horizontally or vertically. And I made the hangers decorative, so I can play around with it, and it can look different no matter how I hung it.
Linda, you told me that this was a bird of paradise, and I almost thought it was one of your underwater scenes that you photographed, because there is a certain amount of movement to it. It's very interesting.
Thank you. The reason why, it's artistic license. I know nothing about flowers, and I have a friend that I do stained glass with. She loves flowers, and she's very detailed, and everything looks really beautiful. But ask me to do a flower, and it's like, what? But because I love the tropics and anything tropical, I decided I wanted to do a bird of paradise. And it's just very nice in the morning to wake up and see the sun through this, because it's really beautiful. And this, once again, I have my little mission border, and then this is all left open. It's open, but like I said, this is all reinforced. There's all copper reinforcement in here, especially here where there's a point. Those can break off very easily. There's also copper that I have put throughout here, and that also helps keep that up and keeps it from falling and sagging. So the weight of this would definitely make it sag. And this happens to be a textured glass here, and you just see, you can play with different things, can make the leaves look a little bit different, like they're turned. So it's kind of like painting for someone who has no talent to paint. So that's why I like doing that. And then once again, I like to do decorative hangers, so it's not so boring.
Mm. Here we have a kimono, and this is incredible. I really, I'm enjoying looking at this because of all the colors and the light that's coming through. And Linda does have a kimono hanging, which you'll see later, on her wall, and so you can really get the interaction of both pieces when you get a chance to view it.
This actually was the first mosaic piece that I've done, and I do like the kimonos, and as Carolyn says, I have one hanging, which when we bought the house, I wanted a kimono hanging on the wall. My husband and I have been into martial arts for very many years and like the Japanese culture, and I really wanted a real kimono. And the kimono is something that the brides would wear, and they would wear like 5 different kimonos for the day. So I really got into the kimonos. So what I did with this one is the black background, which I happen to really like. I love red. And then the highlighting is mostly in the gold, and there's some silver. And this is specially painted glass on the back to make it reflective, and it's a different color. The gold happens to be red on the back to bring out the color. The other mirrored pieces are sometimes done in a gray. Whatever will bring out the color in the front is how the back is treated. And you also have to be very careful with chemicals. With the stained glass, we use chemicals that would corrode. When I did my mirror downstairs, I had to treat the backing of the mirror because it will get silvered. I know anyone who has a mirror, you can see some silvering on the back. It just starts to corrode. And no matter how careful you are, usually you're going to get some corroding. But we try and keep the chemicals away and protect the piece from the chemicals. This you don't have to worry because this is actually grouted. There are no chemicals. I just use a glue, an all-purpose glue to glue everything on, and then grout it. And that's how you do mosaic.
What I find interesting is the use of fans. If these are actually fans, you'll see on the edges, and it really kind of draws you, in your imagination, you can imagine the fans being used.
Yes, and I sort of copied it here. Fans were very important in Japan, and we think of them as, you know, a geisha holding a fan and being very coy. Well, the fan was a weapon, and it's a very effective fighting weapon also. So with the beauty, you also have some deadliness with it, but it's very interesting.
Now we really feel we're by the sea. Tell us a little about this, Linda.
Well, I really love the ocean, and I love being a beachcomber and finding things. So what I wanted to do for a backsplash was to do waves. So when I looked into it, I didn't want to put wood on here. This bathroom is aging and probably needs to be redone, and I didn't want to have to tear down the wall. So what I did is I found this board that's actually very lightweight, and it's extruded styrofoam. And what I was able to do was to cut the shape. Actually, I drew the shape, and my husband cut it for me. But you could actually cut this stuff with a knife, and it just gave me a really pretty feel to it, especially because I have the round mirror. It just lended itself to having those kinds of curvy lines instead of straight lines. And what I tend to do with my pieces, and just like the underwater piece that I have in the sunroom, I like to put shells in it. This is a real shell, this is a real shell, and it hides the screws that hold that into the wall. So because they're common shells, when I do remove this, I can crack it open, take it off, and then put a new one on top of it. This is actually a tile that I bought, the seahorse. And this is a good old Christmas tree shop find, which is resin. This is an ammonite, which is actually something very ancient. And I bought that from someone, and it's just beautiful. In fact, I recently bought a small one as a necklace, but it's called an ammonite, and it's very pretty.
This last piece is the mermaid. And when you look closely, you can see the eyes of the mermaid looking at you. And this was also featured on, we're doing an art show at Easton Community Access Television on April 5th. And when you see the flyers, you'll see the eyes looking at you in the words of art show.
Yes, this was a fun piece to make. Once again, because I love the ocean and everything in it, I really wanted to do a mermaid for the bathroom. I thought it was appropriate. And I didn't want it to be too realistic. And I wanted the wild hair and I wanted shells. So I just tried to incorporate everything in it that I thought would be appropriate for a mermaid. So not only does it have, it has glass shells, it has regular shells, it has some mother of pearl in it. I have a little bit of mirrored glass in it. I have some of the Van Gogh glass, which you saw some of that on the mosaic of the kimono. And it was very difficult for me because I don't do portraits, and I wanted to do a face, and I wasn't ready to tackle an entire face. And I thought, okay, I can have her half underwater, and I can concentrate on the eyes, which gives you a look into her soul anyway. So that's what I did, and I was happy about that. So hopefully one of these days I'll do an entire face.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite pieces. We're in Linda's workshop now, and I was pointing out to her it's a lot neater than most workshops I've seen. And these are some pieces that Linda was working on for the art show. Can you tell us something about that?
These, once again, it's Linda and her shells. I had bought these stands a while ago, and I thought this would be great for the art show because I think they'll display the pieces really nice, and it'll allow me to do a little bit of glass and incorporate the shells. This round one, it's particularly the regular stained glass, which is foiled with copper foil. And then I have lead cane around the outside, put shells and some jewels in it, and it fits right into this little stand, which I think makes it look really nice. And if you happen to be able to see the light through it, it's very attractive. And this is just a different shape as opposed to the round one. And this is a rolled edge. I like pieces of glass that have these rolled edges because I said before, I don't like anything symmetrical or even. So I think this looks more like water and it flows. So what I did is I put in the sand dollar and these various shells and did a little bit of wire work also. And this, once again, also goes right in the stand. I did another one, and I actually wanted to hang it on chain. I'm just sitting it in the stand to figure out exactly how I want to do this. I spoke before about people that color the silver to a different color, and most of the time it's black. I actually think I'm going to do this with copper because it brings out the browns. So I'm going to do this in a copper stain, and I'm going to do this with a chain and hang it. So this one will be hung. And just to have a little bit different of a display and make it a little more interesting. I have over here these pieces that I've cut for the next one that I'm doing. And I have one piece that I've already covered in foil. And you can see there's the foil around it, and that's what gets soldered. And the foil comes on a roll, and you put it on here. So this is the next one in progress. And I stick this one in here because once the foil is on, it also can tarnish. So I try and keep it in plastic. And when it's all done, these are all polished. And then any extra oxidation that's on it will come off in the polishing process.
Well, thank you very much, Linda, for sharing your home and your artwork with us. And you can see more of her work on April 5th, 4 to 7 at Easton Community Access Television. Hope to see you there. Free cocktail party and entertainment, and it should be a lot of fun.
Thank you.